Are we filming? Yes, we are. Okay, so I want to share with you some further thoughts about my Guildford Mini Extra Slim being currently used as an EDC, an everyday carry notebook, and I want to run through some reasoning behind how I've set it up, and also a walkthrough of what I'm doing. So to that end, let's start with size. This is a Rhodia. This is not an A6. This is a Rhodia A7. So they're virtually identical in size. If you compare this to well, here's a pocket-sized filofax, which is roughly A6, and you can see that with the pen loop and the retaining strap, it's compared to, although this is fairly small, it's enormous compared to an A7 mini-sized filofax in this particular case. And also, although I mention this quite often, this is a Guildford Mini Extra Slim, which is it was only made for a very short period of time, and I'm lucky enough to own two of them. They're very, very hard to get hold of, but they do pop up on eBay now and again. If anyone has one of these in their drawer, and you want to sell it, then this is a good time to sell it, because since I've been eulogising over the last few months about the Guildford Mini Extra Slim, unfortunately it has, well, it swings and roundabouts. One disadvantage is that everybody knows about it, and so there is some demand. I've even had people asking me if I'm prepared to sell them one of my copies, and sadly I'm keeping hold of these, but they are in demand. But the flip side of that is that by talking about it, hopefully people who own one of these, and there must be many out there, will perhaps it will spur them on to list it on eBay and make some money by selling it for almost certainly more than they paid for it, and then it will increase the number that are around. But as it stands, this is quite hard to get hold of. It's the smallest one ever made by Filofax, as I understand it. But fear not, there are many, particularly in the Japanese market, there are many that are this size. And of course, if you are an EDC fan, you will have a sharp EDC knife. And so if you bought yourself any one of a number of, I know this is a pocket one, and I'm not going to do anything drastic for the purposes of this video, but essentially you could buy a much cheaper, more ubiquitous Filofax mini size, and they definitely make them, and then you can literally slice off with your sharp EDC knife the pen loop and the connecting strap, the retaining strap, and make your own EDC notebook. Okay, so a bit drastic, but you know, if you're into EDC, then we're not. This isn't a fashion show. We're talking about serious pocketability, serious everyday carry. So let's talk about this again. If I was in, and I mentioned this on my last video, if I was in America or Japan or Canada, I would get hold of. I wouldn't go for one of these because they're very difficult to get hold of in the first place. But what I would do is, what trumps this, what would be more desirable for me other than this, is there's a company, an American agency called Plotter USA, who sell on behalf of Plotter, the Japanese company. They call it a Mini 5, and it is basically this form factor, i.e. a single piece of leather, and I believe they're 11mm rings, so almost identical to this, and it's just one piece of very, very supple, nice leather. So you do not get the pockets here. It's just one piece of fold over leather. Personally, I'm not really into the pockets. I don't really use them, other than, as you can see here, I've got a stack of 20 sheets of paper here and 10 here. I've got 70 here. So this system, as it stands, let's close it and show you. This is 100 sheets of 80-gram paper. If you used thinner paper, then you might be able to get that up to considerably more paper. But as it stands, my stack of paper, 70-gram paper, no, sorry, 80-gram, we're looking at 80 sheets of paper. So for me, that's good enough. And I'll come back to that later, because the cost is incredibly cheap doing it this way. But I'll leave that to the end, because the price comparison is very, very interesting. So there are options. Either get another binder and cut off the retaining strap and the pen loop, because obviously you don't need the pen loop, or make your own purchase in the marketplace in which you have access to. If you're in America or Canada or Japan, as an example, you have that big advantage that I do not. But here in the UK, this is a very, very sought after binder. So, security. Well, security is important, isn't it, with EDC? And we're not talking about packing heat here. We're just talking about the basic layers of security, which, when you think about it, you think, my goodness, I do need to think about these things, even if maybe you haven't thought about it before. But I'm not trying to patronise anyone. I'm just for, if you know all these rules, these unwritten rules, then that's fine. But I'm just going through the basics, so forgive me for that. So first of all, if you are using this as a wallet, I personally don't. I have my own wallet. So this is an English-made leather wallet, and it's, as you can see, it's very, very thin. It's got a few billfolds there, and it's got another flap for cards, and there's a hidden slot for an extra card here that nobody knows about apart from me, and all you peeps know as well now. So there we go. But it is just a basic man's wallet, and I keep that on my person. In fact, I have two. I have a wallet that with one card in it and a £10 note that I can lose if I robbed, and then I have this one with the good stuff in. So you can tell I'm a security nerd, can't you? But as far as security with this binder, so this is obviously designed for cards, and if you have the cards here, if you have this notebook, if you like, over to here, if you have it mounted on effectively the right hand side of the divider, I mounted this onto a plasticated card divider, filofaxes divider, so that it can move backwards and forwards without any encumbrance to that purpose. And so you're in the store or the cash point, and you're holding your combined wallet. You're using this as a wallet. It's, although a trained thief will know that there is a possibility that someone who has a notebook in a wallet might have used that to store and jot down security codes for cards. So this is a really, really dangerous situation, or it could be if you're unlucky. If you are planning on using it as a combined wallet, and I know a lot of you EDC people do, then at least your notebook is disguised in a way. You could maybe have a photograph here or something, or you could do something, and then you would put your card in the machine or give it to the sales assistant, and then you would close it and you would get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. Because the last thing you want is some wise guy looking over their shoulder at your wallet activity and then signalling to his team, which is no doubt situated immediately outside the store. So doing it this way means that for most of the time there's no real indication that this is a wallet, and so you are more secure if you are getting this EDC notebook out of your jeans pocket maybe 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times a day. Most of the time your cards are hidden, whereas if you had this notebook on the left hand side, i.e. all this paper was here, then every time you opened your EDC notebook and you were writing on the paper this side, you're basically saying, hey guys, come and rob me. Look at the cards I've got. And by the way, I'm writing, which probably means that I have written my notes because I'm a complete mug and I don't understand security very much by virtue of the fact I'm displaying my cards to all and sundry for everybody to see. So that's obviously going to pique the interest of the criminals that are standing nearby and assessing the situation, sizing you up. So that is why it's a sensible thing, if you are using a combined wallet, is to make sure that when you're writing, your cards are hidden by having your notebook on this side, the right hand side, instead of the left hand side. So the shielded the cards, very, very important. Secondly, you need to be as invisible as possible. So if you are, for instance, say you're writing on a coffee table and you are writing like this, even if you don't have cards here, basically this is how you write. And forgive me if I don't do it this way, but the same situation arises whether you're right-handed or left-handed. Basically, you have this exposed, so you're writing, and then someone can more easily grab this. You can get a good purchase. It's leather. They can really grab it and they can take it from your hands very, very quickly indeed. And they have a better purchase on your EDC notebook than you do, because your thumb is on some cards and your other fingers are on the back. There's no real purchase, whereas the criminal can assess it as they're reaching for your card. They can see that there is stuff here. They can grab it and yank it out of your hand. So if you have it like this and you have your hand like this, and you have, well, let's just say, so I'm trying not to reveal my notes, but you've got very little for them to grab hold of if essentially there's much more of your EDC notebook in your hands than their hands. There's nothing here for them to grab hold of if you hold it like this. Certainly if you are right-handed, then you would have the opposite problem. Okay, and in that particular case, I would say have it like this, if you like. But if you do that, then it's ideally you do not want your cards exposed. So my recommendation, if you are right-handed and you are worried about security, have it like this. Let me just put the I've lost my page now. Okay, let me do that. So what you can do is actually have the binder upside down, and then basically you have these bulldog clips up here, and you are doing the exact opposite, so you are writing like this, it is upside down, but that's not a problem because you're not getting your wallet out at this very moment, and the chances when you're writing like this of your cards falling out are very, very minimal indeed. So you can have, there's no rule to say you cannot use a filofax upside down. So consider that if you're right-handed, and if you're left-handed, well, this is perfect. You can have it the right way up. If you have cards and one of your priorities is to shield those cards when you are writing. And of course, when it comes to anti-snatch, another thing you can do is there's a pocket here. So you can, if there is a pocket on the right hand side, you can grab hold of it like this and make it even more secure. So let's just say you are writing, okay? So instead of just holding the side, you've actually got your fingers inside the pocket here, so that it makes it even less likely. You're more likely to win the tug of war like this than if there's an entire there's a huge bit of leather real estate for someone to grab. Now, are these security thoughts something that are going to you'll need to apply them every day? No, but if you get into the routine of making yourself less attractive to a criminal gang that is floating around a tourist area, railway station, airports, tourist area, there's a lot of mean streets out there as well. So be very, very careful, and just develop a methodology that reduces the chance of becoming a victim. Now, from not necessarily security from a theft point of view, but security of losing your data, what's the chances of a single clip becoming undone in the wind or knocked? I mean, let's say the chance in 1,000. If the chances of losing your data because a clip breaks or snaps or whatever is a chance in 1,000, then the chances of 2 clips simultaneously breaking on the same day are 1,000 times 1,000. So you're talking about a 1 in a million chance. So does that make me feel more secure, knowing that, excuse me, I've got twice, well, not just, I've actually got 1,000 times more security here. So instead of a chance in 1,000 of losing your data, it goes up to 1 in a million. This is a good way of extending the mean time between failure by the multiple. So let's say a chance in a million. I'm happy with that. I am happy with that. Since I'm in my 60s, the chances are I'm not going to live more than a few thousand more days. So 2 clips are good for me. I'm very happy with that. And there's another thing about security, which is a little bit off the wall, or shall I say off the table, but it's this. So there's a lot of if you looked at the surface of a coffee table, or a table in a restaurant, or a table on a train, or anywhere where you're leaning your EDC, when you're resting your wrist on a table, this area here is going to be, if you look at it under a microscope, it's going to be full of nasty stuff, which you probably wouldn't want to look at under a microscope. So there's an awful lot of things going on public tables. So to just minimize the risk of getting an infection, then what I do is I have this. It fulfills a dual purpose, but this is a piece of paper, and you can see it's twice the length, so it folds over, and it's primarily used to make sure that I don't have to flick through these to find the next blank page. So that's what it does. But an additional an additional advantage is that when I'm writing, I'm not, my left hand or right hand, if you're right-handed, is not touching the paper. Okay, there's some infection being picked up on the paper, but not a lot. And you can spray this with a suitable disinfectant surface spray. But the paper is under the microscope is very, very sort of fairly. It's less likely. There's no oils in the paper, and so the amount of I call it infection, but we're talking about the potential for infection. So there's less risk of infection if you basically have the palm of your hands on this paper as you write. So that's security, and a lot of it is fairly long-winded, and I do appreciate that. So ease of use. Well, ease of use, this is obviously something close to people's hearts who are seeking the ultimate EDC paper notebook. It has to be ease of use, and I think this scores a lot of good points here because it is very, very it's very easy to use, and it has a small form factor. It has probably enough bits of paper for most people, in this case 100 sheets. It has a pen that's always handy. Just take out the pen if you don't have one handy. I just use this as a spare pen effectively because I like using a Pilot G2. Why do I use a Pilot G2? It's because it's cheap, ubiquitous, and if I use one of my expensive fountain pens, that would put me at considerably higher risk because, let's face it, a fountain pen on mean streets is basically a warning sign to thieves, not only that you're fairly posh enough to use a fountain pen, but the fountain pen has value, and if you're looking at a fountain pen, then you're probably carrying all sorts of stuff that can be traded. So use a cheap pen. That's my advice. So I do use a cheap, ubiquitous Pilot G2. That's my weapon of choice. But hey, this is I wouldn't say it's tactical. People know some people will know exactly what I'm talking about here, but I'm not going to go into it. But hey, lock and load. So, right. So ease of use. So these dots, what am I doing with these dots? So when you're in the field, when you're on mean streets, it's not easy or desirable to rearrange these all the time. So I tend to leave these until I'm indoors or back in the car or somewhere secure, preferably somewhere where it's not windy, so my cards can blow away. So I have this little system. It's very, very easy, where I have a 5-star system. So let me show you. So without really okay, so this is one I can show you. So this is something for another video, but this has two dots, and 2 dots mean it's not a vital thing. One is something I've got to do at some point. 2 means I've got to do it in the next month or so. 3 stars maybe next week. 4 stars is tomorrow, got to do it by tomorrow, and 5 stars or 5 dots means I really, really have to do it fairly pronto, today, if at all possible. And so it's very, very easy to just go through these and just see, okay, well, that's a 3 star, so let's have a look at that. So you can go through this and just absolutely double check that there are no 5 stars or 5 dots. And then you say, right, let me go through it again. Are there any 4 dots? And so even though they're out of chronological order in terms of the sense of urgency required, having some dots here gives me an indication of the urgency of the task without actually having to read and reread again the task. And so having that system here works very, very well indeed. So I mean, I like this. I really, really find this very, very easy to do, and also, as you probably know full well, if you are making your own sheets and then you have to hole punch them, well, that can be very, very tedious. So I just absolutely love the fact that I do not have to get my hole punch and punch paper. I can just cut it and fit it, which comes to the options as far as paper is concerned. Now, there's two options here, and this is specifically pertaining to the A7 format of my system. Now, as you can imagine, because of the metric system, you're probably familiar with it in the America, but the system means that if you get a sheet of A4, excuse me, an A4 sheet, my camera's too close, but this is my A4 sheet. If you fold that sheet into two, that becomes A5. If you fold it again, it becomes A6, and if you fold it again, it becomes A7. Now, as you saw in my previous video, A7 paper needs to be cut down in two ways. For a start, it needs to be cut down about here, and then secondly, it needs to be cut here to make it smaller. So there is a bit of wastage there. The advantage of doing it that way is because if you are out in the field, then all you literally need, you don't even need a ruler or a pen. You just need an EDC knife, okay, and you need your sheet of paper, and then you can, by virtue of the fact you are folding and folding again, you get the precise A7 paper, which you can cut with your knife, and then you end up with 8 pieces of paper, all in A7 size. However, as I've explained, there is a little bit of wastage there. So, is there a better way? Well, there certainly is. If you have access to a ruler, and you have access to a pen, which you probably do, and you have a surface which you can lay down and then you can write on, then what you can do is, instead of dividing this by folding, this A4 folded into 8 gives you 8 pieces that are A7 size, but a custom size is to where are we? Yeah, so if you mark along here 5.9, and then you do another 5.9, and so on. Let me give you a little diagram that I've pre-done. Let me take this off so I can find it without revealing all my stuff. Where is it? I can't see it. I'm not going to delete it. But here we go. Right. So, okay. So here we go. We have a piece of A5 paper. Okay. So you mark 4 lines, 59 millimeters apart. And then you do another here that's 105 millimeters apart, because A4 paper on the shorter side is 210. And so basically you end up with 5 pieces. So and these 5 pieces end up like this. So let me move that around. And so you have these size of pieces. And as you can probably see, They are absolutely perfect for this binder, an A7 binder. So that is how you make use of, as long as you've got the time to do this, this is how you make your sheets that perfectly fit for this format, i.e. an A7 binder, but subdivided into 10 with no wastage instead of 8 with some wastage. And I just didn't explain this in the last video, but basically, if you can see, this divider goes all the way, which I use basically because it eliminates the problem of lean. Well, apart from anything, it's the basis of the entire clamping process with the bulldog clips. But you will notice that here it's flush with the bottom of the binder, but here I've cut it down by roughly 3/4 of a centimetre. And the reason why I've done that is so that when you close it, not much of the bulldog clips are exposed. I could potentially have done this, but which is a neater alternative. However, if I did do that, then I'm going to end up having to open these up, potentially, not necessarily on this side, but certainly on this side. I can't lift the paper. Well, I could, but it's really difficult. So I just leave them up, so they don't stick out too much. So, and I'm putting this into my pocket from this end, not this end. But there's no sharp edges, so I am not going to ruin the lining of a pants pocket, as you say in America, or a trouser pocket if you are in the UK, or the lining of a jacket pocket. So it's safe, and that is the beauty of it. There's nothing here that can wear away the lining of a pocket. So the final thing is cost. Now, this is not a criticism of Filofax, because if you use a product, then you know they can charge whatever they want. And Filofax paper is not really designed to be used in huge quantities like this, but possibly I use 30 sheets of this each day, which adds up to quite a lot over the course of a year. Now, I checked the Filofax website this morning, and have I got any? Yes, I have got some paper. So this is Filofax lined paper, fantastic, and they also do it in blank sheets, very good quality. And I do use a lot of Filofax paper if I'm making a record which I am going to keep forever. But I don't use it as rough paper for working on, and this is very much rough paper. And the issue is, this paper, you can't even get it in mini size as a 100-page notebook, like an economy pack. You have to buy it somewhat incongruously, in my opinion, in very small quantities indeed. A pack of 20 sheets is £2.75. Now, even assuming that you're going to be buying sufficient quantities for the postage to be free, if you add up the cost of using 30 of these sheets per day, then the cost of running this EDC pocket system using Filofax paper would be just over £1,505, which is a lot of money, isn't it? Now, how much would it cost if you're just using this cheap printer paper, where you can buy reams of it? A ream is 500 sheets, it would cost you just under £10 for the year. So you'd only need 3 of these A4 sheets a day, cut into 10. So obviously the difference in cost is enormous, but there is a cost. There is a cost in time associated with even if you had these sheets and then laboriously punch the holes with a hole punch. Time is money. Just how long would it take to hole punch 30 sheets a day and keep a stash of them? Well, the time is there's a lot of time, isn't there? And you could be doing something else to earning you some cash. So this system of pages that aren't punched and they're just being held together by a couple of bulldog clips is, in my opinion, very, very efficient, both in terms of time and also the physical cost. So that's really all I have to say. The cost thing is something that is definitely worth thinking about. Not just in terms of money, but time. This is very, very efficient in this form. So I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough. It's quite a long, laborious video, and so I'm not expecting everybody to watch it all the way through. It's one of my longer ones, but I thought I'd walk through the methodology and the reasoning behind my design, and I hope that there are some of you out there that have found it interesting, inspiring, or useful in some way. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.